Hey, you've got a rate card. Most auto repair shop owners do. It says that you charge your labour out at sometimes $140 an hour, $180 an hour, and maybe sometimes even more. And because it's on the wall and it's in your software, you assume that's what you're actually earning. Your accountant doesn't tell you otherwise. Your P&L doesn't tell you otherwise. And so every month goes by and you assume your labour rate is doing its job. But here's what nobody is showing you. There's a number called your effective labour rate, and it's what you actually earn per hour. And for most shops, that number is $20, $30, and sometimes up to $60 less than your advertised labour rate. And this isn't an accounting problem, it's a measurement problem. Because your accountant tracks money in and money out. They don't track whether what you're actually earning is what you think you're charging. Because that number doesn't appear on any reports they produce. And it doesn't appear in your P&L. I'm Dean from the Workshop Whisperer, and on today's episode of the A-Grade Auto Repair Shop Show, I'm going to show you what it is, how to calculate it, and what to do when you see it. Now, before we get into it, we've got a free resource called Financial Mastery for Auto Repair Shop Owners. It goes deeper on the numbers that drive profitability in an auto repair shop. The link is in the description below. You can come back and grab it at the end of today's episode. Now, let's start with why this happens. You've probably got a job, on your job cards, you've probably got a section there that tells you text what they're meant to charge per hour. Maybe it says $180. And you believe that that's what you earn. But every week, on every job, there's money that is quietly leaving the building. It's not finding its way into your bottom line, and it's not finding its way into your back pocket. And you're probably wondering, well, where does it actually go? Well, let me show you. One of the places it goes is on comebacks. You do a job, you fix it once, but the car comes back in with the same problem. So you fix it again and you do it at no charge. So what you charged on the first job becomes a fraction of the cost of what you thought you'd actually earned. And what does it mean? Well, every time a car comes back, it reduces your real hourly rate. Where's the second area that we get some lost money? Can be in warranty work. With manufacturer or parts warranty repairs, sometimes that repair work is covered, sometimes it's only partially recovered. And that means that you absorb the labour cost. Where else do we lose some money? Well, it turns out that we lose some money up here in goodwill. You've had a long-standing customer that's unhappy with the quality of the work that's been done previously on their vehicle. When they come back and complain or to tell you about it, you waive the labour to keep the customer happy and maintain that relationship. And it might feel like it's the right call in the moment, but it comes out of the same pool from your labour rate. And the last one here is diagnostics. Right, this is a big one because a complex electrical fault might take 2 or 3 hours to find, but you only charged for 1 hour because you felt that was a reasonable amount of time to charge. The other 2 or 3 hours just felt like they completely disappeared. They got written off. Now, of course, none of this shows up in your accountant's reports. All they see is that revenue came in and there were some costs associated to get that job done that went out. But there's a number at the bottom. And what they can't see, and what most owners can't see, is that through here, you left money on the table at every single point. And what you might be left with at the end is maybe $110 to $130 per hour. That means you could have been losing somewhere between $50 to $70 per hour through comebacks, through undercharged warranty, through writing off hours through goodwill, or through underpriced diagnostic work. So we had one of our clients came into the end room charging $175 an hour, which was a pretty good rate for the market that he was operating in. And he was convinced that his labour was profitable. But when we ran his effective labour rate, it actually came back at $108 an hour. Essentially, he'd been running his labour at 62% efficiency rate for years, and he'd had absolutely no idea. And I think you can understand that's not a small number. 68%, the missing 32%, well, that's the difference between a business that allows its owner to build true wealth and one that just stays busy. But how do you find your number? How do you calculate your own effective labour rate? Well, effective labour rate is pretty simple. It's your total labour revenue divided by your total labour hours sold. That's it. Where do you find your total labour revenue? You find this number on your P&L, in your cost of goods sold. Where do you find your total labour hours sold? Hopefully, you'll find that on your workshop software. You get those two figures together and you'll be able to calculate your effective labour rate across all of the jobs, all of the repairs, all of the project work that you're doing. And that's it. You don't need new software. You don't need complex equations. You don't even need a consultant. You just need two numbers that you can get from the systems you're using to record your labour, what you charge for labour, and how many hours you sold for the work that you're doing. You divide those, stick them into a calculator, you've got your figure. So your total labour revenue, just to be clear, that's what your labour, it's how much labour you charged in the month. It's not parts, it's labour only. And your total labour hours sold, that's how many hours you billed for. Not how many hours were clocked, but how many hours you billed for. If a job took 10 hours, but you only billed for 5, that figure is 5 hours. You divide one by the other, that's your effective labour rate. And it's going to show you really quickly where you're leaving money on the workshop floor or losing money out of your bottom line. Now, let's look at these two shops, Shop A and Shop B. So, Shop A might be working, might have on their labour rate that they're $180 per hour. Right? It sounds super strong, but maybe through the breaks that we see here, through the comebacks, through the goodwill, through the underpriced diagnostics, and through the warranty work, maybe what happens is that labour rate actually becomes $113, or the effective labour rate actually ends up being $113 per hour, right? That means their leak is $68 per hour. Nearly $70 an hour they're losing through those 4 labour leaks. So what about shop B? Well, maybe shop B, is charging a labour rate of $150, but their quality of work is higher. They're billing for all of the time that's on a job. Maybe they don't make all of their money back on warranties. Maybe there's a little bit of goodwill in there. But when they do the calculation, what they see is that they have an effective labour rate of $145 per hour. That leak being $5 per hour. So shop A might be charging a higher hourly rate for labour, but turns out shop B is the more profitable workshop and by a significant margin. Not because they charge more, but because they're able to keep more of what they charge. And once you know your effective labour rate levers, your total labour revenue divided by your total labour hours sold, well, you actually got 2 ways of improving the amount of money you keep in your workshop. So lever 1 is you reduce the leak. What does that mean? Well, you work on fixing your comeback rate, or you charge properly for the diagnostic work that you're doing, which has no parts associated with it. So you're not making any money on part sales in diagnosis. Maybe what you do is you tighten your goodwill policy. Or maybe what you do is you ensure you're getting as much of the amount charged on warranty work. And one of the important things is that you're actually charging for all of the time that is spent in a particular job, down to the minute. And of course, lever 2 you've got is that, well, you can raise your advertised rate. After all, your wages bill has probably gone up over the last 2, 3 or 4 years, but has what you've been charging out your technician's time at also increased across the same amount of time? So you could raise your posted rate. Maybe it becomes $190 per hour. And that rate increase goes straight to your effective labour rate improvement. But of course, if you raise this without fixing this, well, you're just losing more money, but at a higher number. Which is why we always suggest you start with lever 1, improving your comebacks, having a better process around goodwill, and charging for all of the time spent on jobs. And this is where that resource Financial Mastery for Auto Repair Shop owners comes in, because it breaks down the numbers that actually drive profitability, including how to use your finance meetings to track your effective labour rate every single week. The link's in the description below. It's a free download. So, here's what I want you to sit with. Right? Your labour rate tells you what you're asking for, but your effective labour rate tells you what you're actually getting for each hour spent on a job. So say that again to yourself. Your labour rate tells you what you're asking for, but your effective labour rate tells you what you're actually collecting per hour of build time. Now you've got 3 questions to ask yourself, and I want you to ask them of yourself very honestly. Number 1, do you know your effective labour rate? Not your posted rate, but your effective labour rate. Remember? That's this calculation. Total labour revenue divided by total labour hours sold. If you don't know that number, that's the first thing to go and calculate after this episode. 2, if there's a gap between your posted rate and your effective labour rate, well, do you know which one of the labour leaks that's being attributed to the most? Is it the comebacks? Is it the goodwill? Is it the warranty? Is it the diagnostics? Go and do some work around where the leak is in the workshop. Find the biggest leak first and fix that. And number 3, if your effective labour rate went up by $20 per hour, if suddenly this went up by $20 per hour, what does that mean per month? Take your average weekly labour hours, so how much time you bill out per tech per hour, multiply it by $20 or $40 per hour. And that's how much money is sitting in that gap right now every single month. And that's not an opportunity you want to capitalize on in the future. That's money you want to seal up and collect inside your workshop this week. And that's one of the things that we measure and we have all of our clients work on in their Friday finance meeting inside the engine room. It's not a complicated calculation. It just has to be calculated and discussed so you're keeping more of the money that you're charging your tech's time out per hour. So remember, a posted labour rate is what you intend to earn, but your effective labour rate is what you actually earn. Your accountant can't see the gap. Your software doesn't flag it, and nobody's going to show you this number unless you go looking for it. And you can't fix what you don't see. So be sure to calculate it this week. Now, if this episode has you thinking differently about your auto repair business and you'd like to find out how we help auto repair shop owners just like you to stop leaving money on the workshop floor, then click the links in the description below and see how we can help you out. There's no pressure, there's no sales calls, just clear information to help you work out whether now is the right time and we might be the right fit to give you some help with your auto repair shop. I'll see you on the next episode of the A-Grade Auto Repair Shop Show.